Quick video on the San Bernardino mass shooting of yesterday. I didn't really want to weigh in on this, especially not so soon, but that's kind of what this video is about, is the weighing in done by people on both the right and the left. That I think is pretty awful. People, all kinds of opinions before they could possibly know what's going on. I watched a Paul Joseph Watson video this morning where he talked about what a lot of people on the left are saying and who they're attributing this mass shooting to. Typically white, male, young, conservative gun owners, as though they could possibly know, obviously. And also on the right, I actually watched Fox News pretty much all night last night, and I was horrified to watch as people sort of hedged their bets, but and said, you know, we're not going to jump to any conclusions, but then pointed right away to terrorism, Islamic fundamentalist terrorism. Bill O'Reilly, it was quite comical. He just spent the whole night saying, you know, we're not going to jump to any conclusions here. We're not, you know, he's basically laying the groundwork. He's hedging his bets so that he can, if tomorrow he finds out that he's wrong, he can say, hey, no, we didn't jump to any conclusions. You know, watch the tape, watch the tape. But it doesn't really do any good to say, we're not jumping to any conclusions and then just state all your conclusions, right? That doesn't really cut it. And, you know, how quick they are to jump to it, especially with just the mere mention of a name like Saeed Farouk. And I watched, you know, Mark Fuhrman blathering on and being super critical of the police force and the FBI, saying they should have done that and they should have released the name earlier, etc., so the citizens might help, as though he could know what their internal investigation is and how that works and what they're doing. He's a talking head, right? But that's part of the problem with the 24-hour news cycle is, you know, in contrast to when, you know, news at 6, news at 9, they've got to fill time and space. So they seem to think that they've got to become super sleuths. And of course, their ideological position forms part of that. And they were making a lot of conclusions. Hannity, even Megyn Kelly, who's usually a little bit more careful, and Bill O'Reilly certainly, before they could possibly know. And I don't see why they think that the citizens need to know this stuff so quickly. I don't think we're on a need-to-know basis when it comes to that stuff. You hire people like the police and the FBI and other agencies, the ATF, etc., to investigate that stuff, and they will tell you in due time what the results of their investigations are, and then you can make whatever policy or changes or whatever you need to based on that. We don't need to know in the moment. What we need to know in the moment is in those areas where they've got people sort of recommend that they lock down, hunker down in their houses and that sort of thing. That's the immediate stuff that needs to be known, and those news agencies would do well to just put that forth. I was walking the dog with my wife last night, and I said, you know, Bill O'Reilly canceled his whole show to do this conjecture for an hour on what he thought was the cause of this. And I said, you know, he'd have done better off to just have his show as planned and have a 15-minute or 10-minute news, right? News segment. Here are the facts. People in this area should be careful. Don't go there. And here's what we know at the time. And then go on with his show. He could break into it from time to time. But of course, it's an ideological show, right? So he's not going to do that. But I think it doesn't do us any good. All of this jumping to conclusions before anyone could possibly know, trying to score ideological points, and this seeming sense, this need to know immediately the entire story. This will all be revealed to us, and we can take appropriate action if any is necessary or recommended after the fact, based on the recommendations of the professionals that we hired to do the jobs. And I just wish everybody would stop trying to make their ideological points in the middle of a goddamn tragedy. It's not really a tragedy, but in the middle of a shooting. The results are tragic, but it wasn't a tragedy. It was obviously quite intentional. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.